Favor?
You have that wording written down?
If you, good luck reading that. Your penmanship is always so much better than mine.
Ready, Andy? All right. On to 6, communications. A, Knox County Community Justice Hub.
Oh, I need it back.
Oh, right as fast as I can. Thank you.
Any questions on that? The next one is next week.
I did sign up for that Wednesday.
Next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did it last night.
What was it?
Informative.
Okay. Any questions, comments? All right, we'll move on to 7, speakers from the floor.
I just want to encourage you not to give up on those ordinances we voted down.
No, we're not. Don't
We
worry.
regret the typos and wish we could have passed them, but
We will be working to make sure that, or I hope we'll be working to make sure those ordinances pass.
yes.
It'll probably be in January now,
Yeah.
I would assume, with holiday season.
Yeah.
Because we have to have a public hearing,
And then we have to have, yeah.
public hearing, then a public vote, so it'll probably be
January 2025.
I mean, we could have the public hearing
We'll have that this month.
in
or
2 weeks,
December, but
probably.
probably won't get to the other one.
And the vote will be in January, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
All right, any other speakers on the floor? Going once, going twice. All right. 8, committee and department reports appointment. A, appointment to the Lanes Island Stewardship Committee.
Make a motion that we put Dottie, is it
Priscilla?
Tasillo, is that how you say it? On the committee to one of the vacant seats up 6/20/22.
Second.
All those in favor? 8B, Housing Committee report.
Darlene and Barb. We lost a few others to the executive session. But we just want you to know that the assessment was done. It's long, it's complicated. I gave you copies of the executive summary that has numbers as well as percentages. And we're just looking for the next steps that you would like us to take. We have some ideas, but we wondered if there were things in particular that you would like us to do.
So you guys have been researching it more than us, so probably if you guys have good ideas, you should bring them to us, because this isn't our strong suit, I guess, or we haven't dealt with it much.
Well,
Besides
that's why you appointed us.
Besides reading the survey, I don't really know much about all the different ins and outs of it, I
Well,
guess.
thank you for reading it. It's not easy, not an easy read. One thing that we thought we might do is review the land use ordinance, which has also been recommended by MCAD, Maine Coast Economic Development Corporation. I gave you a copy of some of their suggestions. They've come up over and over again to look at the lot size, the lot density, the setbacks, all the things that have been impediments to creating more housing so far. So I thought the housing committee could look at that. We could look at some of the maps. Andy's getting a map created of where the sewer and the water overlap, the town water and town sewer, so we know exactly where that area is, which might be the best place for more intense development, since there's water and sewer and there's capacity apparently in both utilities. And to just really look at that really carefully and see what these changes would mean, where they would be effective, maybe not just in town, but out of town, but to really, sit down with maps and really thoughtfully look at it and then make recommendations to the planning commission, which is something the housing committee was going to do years ago, but the housing committee never got that far. So this is something that we could work on ourselves. Andy was doing some research to see if we could get a consultant to help on the planning commission too, to get a consultant to help us review some of our ordinances and really make sure that the changes we're proposing really fit with the comprehensive plan and with the other existing ordinances, so we don't make mistakes. So I'm still hoping that that's a viable possibility for the sake of the Housing Committee and the Planning Commission. The second thing is we thought we could do some research on energy audits. That was very popular years ago. I know Dell and KK had somebody do that, and they had people come out. We might be able to get maybe even Penquist, they do the heat program, and have people come out. People could sign up and say, yes, I'd like to have an energy audit. Someone from off island could come and do that. And then we could see if there are grants available to help secure funding to make some of these things happen, to make people's homes warmer and more comfortable. A lot of the people who responded to the assessment said that their heating bills were a major problem for them. So they didn't mention electricity, which is surprising to me, but they did mention heat. So if we could help tighten up some homes, that would be a big help for people. And that's something I think the committee could do. And the third thing was review parcels of town-owned land and speak with the land trust, because I understand from Eric Davis that the land trust is very interested in the whole affordable housing issue. And they've been waiting to hear something. I don't know exactly from who or what they're waiting to hear, but we could reach out to them and see what they're thinking, what their ideas are, and also look at town-owned land and see if there's any town-owned land that's appropriate for some kind of affordable housing or mixed income housing development, because that could be the town match, as opposed to having to buy land or come up with money. So those are the three things we thought we could pursue with great interest within the committee at this point. But there are other members of the committee here, and be very happy to have them speak further on these things or clarify anything I said.
I'm living in the apartments on Main Street, and I've talked to the new owners, and he said he has calls all the time, steady. I mean, there's people, elderly people and low-income people that are looking for housing, and he says, I just have to keep turning away and say, yeah, we'll get in contact when something comes open. But I've been in there a year and a half, and there's been one apartment that's come open in a year and a half. And that happens also to be a handicap apartment. So that kind of ties his hands, because they go to the top of the list, which of course rightfully they should. But he says he's got 25 apartments, and he says it's not handling what's needed out here. And again, the population is getting up on the higher level of the elderly. And I feel also for the young people, because that's why all the fishermen are losing their stern then, because they don't have a place to live. They can't afford a place to live. Some solutions are going to be coming forward for the next year or two for them too.
I had a question. To me, it seemed like there wasn't a real consensus on what is considered affordable for people, because I know people who are retired or fixed income, that's one subset. But then, as you mentioned, the younger people who don't necessarily have the capital to first, last deposit, all that stuff, or buy a piece of property. So what, when you say affordable, do we have an idea of what that range is?
I believe with HUD, it's 30, they'd say you shouldn't be paying more than 30% of your income for housing. So depending on what your income is, your rental is subsidized. And that's true in the apartments that exist now.
Okay.
I'm a little unclear about what Jason said in terms of what Penquist charges. Do either any of you remember that? But it's tied to people's income. It's a percentage of the income.
Okay. So what we're really looking at is just providing more housing that we have that is available, but just more of it essentially that's subsidized. Okay.
And in terms of the ordinance, I mean, the ordinance already has a density bonus, but we could have more housing if we allowed more conversions, even accessory structures possibly becoming, like tiny houses, having even groups of tiny houses some places. I think there are lots of different things that other communities are doing that have been done and have been researched, even prefab homes, because it's so expensive to build out here. There may be lots of opportunities that we could investigate and see what's plausible. And it can be mixed income. It doesn't just have to be low income, because there seems there are people of all incomes needing housing.
Right. That was kind of my other point, that I understand people in the low income say it's much harder, but there are people maybe in that middle bracket where it's still difficult. Like you might be able to put 30% of your income down, but that doesn't leave you much for electric, heat, groceries, all that other things. So there's no easy solution. I acknowledge that. There's no silver bullet here. So we'll probably have to go at it a few different ways. So,
Right.
Yep.
One thing Jason Bird of Penquist said is, if you can create housing for older people to move into that's safe and comfortable and desirable, they'll move out of a big old house and it'll open up that house for family. So I think that's another possibility. A lot of people don't want to move from their homes, but sometimes they really feel they need to for financial reasons or comfort or the stairs. I mean, a lot of the bathrooms in these old homes are upstairs. So there may be opportunities that more housing presents in other ways.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think you guys done an excellent job here.
Yes.
Providing the summary.
Thank you very much.
However, one thing, I'm not confident that the older homes, if people move out, are gonna be available to the local younger people even, doesn't matter, because from what I've observed, we should all probably have observed in the last year or so, they all go to off-islanders. People can't afford to.
Can't afford them.
So what do you do about that? You can't beat that. You can't.
And not only can't they afford them, but they can't afford to renovate them if they buy them.
Right.
It's just a no-win situation for people with not a lot of money, but when the price of the home is so outrageous,
And then it needs work on top of it.
probably over $200,000 usually the older homes are going for.
Where can you find a $200,000 home out here?
I said over $200,000 home.
A woodshed.
Yeah.
You don't find it. Very few homes are.
Right.
Well, it would be nice if some of these homes could transfer within families. A few have.
Try.
Or if people would make a preference for selling their home to an island family.
But of course, we can't force them to do
We
so.
can't, but individual owners can decide who they want to sell.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
But it
But
might be hard for that. It might be hard for them too. If someone said, I want 250 and you're willing to pay that, but such and such is willing to pay me 400, eventually
Yeah.
money talks and you know what.
And I've also
But-
heard people say, I need to get as much as I possibly can for this
Yeah.
piece of real estate.
That's
I don't have a
it's
choice.
their retirement. in some
So-
cases.
It's makes it hard, impossible, actually.
So do we have your authorization to continue on with these?
Oh,
Please.
Yes, please.
That's what we were hoping for.
Your authorization / begging you to please continue
Yeah.
to.
Oh, thank you.
Can I do you mean all the things presented in this summary?
No, the three things that I mentioned.
Okay.
Right now, or a few minutes ago. Are there others, Andy, that you think we should be pursuing?
Not at the moment. I think you gave a lot. There's a lot behind all of this, and they just got it last week. So I think it's worth the board, you doing the work you proposed, the board really looking in this with what you come with next and giving a chance to really think through it. I mean, with the comments that were raised, some things might not be, easily achieved through town government means, and some things maybe could be. I mean, the idea for workshops and education opportunities around various things that were brought up in your meetings is a very easier low-hanging fruit for committees to be able to try and do in the community and partner with other organizations to do that. But it gets complicated when you start looking at the affordability of selling and how do you put restrictions on sales of houses, and is that something the town should be doing or not? The ordinances in between there, you have ordinances and ways to encourage development and encourage entrepreneurs or people to invest in properties. But is there a way that we can make that, as you mentioned, easier, or something we can do for conversions, or change the ordinance to allow for cluster housing or other options that could work?
I have one question, though. It came up at our meeting last night. We had a housing committee meeting last night in advance of meeting with you tonight. We wondered if it would be useful to have a public meeting to talk about the results of the housing survey and try to put that on the community in some clear way. That would have to be Mary Terry or someone, because I don't understand it well enough in such a succinct way to be able to just explain it. But members of the committee thought people really wouldn't come. That it's not the sort of thing that would attract the kind of attention that an airstrip would attract.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think you'll have great attendance. I mean, I would try to put this executive summary in as many places as possible.
Oh.
And we can encourage people to read it. You know, we can put reminders on the town website.
Is this up on the
And,
town website, this executive summary? I'm not sure.
Well,
But we
if it's-
can make it available on there.
and you know, and even encourage, you know, both on the town webpage and put it in the wind. We don't have to put the executive summary in the wind, but encourage people to come up to the town office, get a hard copy, or go online and read it. Put up a couple flyers in the usual places around town: grocery store, Fisherman's Friend, Light Company, et cetera, et cetera.
So if you did do a meeting, I'd suggest doing like a Zoom thing, because when we
Mhm.
first started the pandemic and the Zoom meetings where, you know, if you had it on YouTube so they could watch it later, it was definitely a lot more attendance doing it that way than having, you know, just one thing at the auditorium, you know, because I mean, we'd have 2 people in the audience, but when we were doing it online, we might have 50 people zooming in. So I would suggest if maybe you could just record it on YouTube. If Mary could record something on YouTube, you could maybe make it available. Like she could just go over the summary. That might work better than a public meeting.
We
Yeah,
did a PowerPoint for our committee. Maybe we could just put that on.
Yeah, I mean,
Do
anything.
we have a link to that on the town
Because
website?
people are more
Yeah.
apt to click on something and watch it sitting in their
Yeah.
home than they are to actually. That's what we've seen, or at least I've seen during the meetings. I mean, we have a lot more people actually watching them than coming and asking questions. So.
And I'll talk to Andy about how to get these things on the town website.
Thank you.
Thank you.
anybody else? All right, thank you. We'll move on. 9, old business, Indian Creek footbridge lease.
I forgot to include it at the last meeting, but I had talked with Earl Hamilton about the use of revisiting that use of the footbridge. And what he was proposing was he was willing to open it up again, but he wanted to do it for limited periods during the year, and was willing to try October 15 to December 15, and I believe April 15 to June 15. And see how that works. He has challenges in the wintertime being able for him to keep clear the snow and the safe, safe passage through there. And then in the summertime, we saw what was experienced this past year in the summer, and for him as the property owner, it just didn't work. He's got 2 shops down there, a working wharf, and he needs to be able to use that property for his purpose too.
Yep.
So that was what he was willing to propose. For the community to still be able to access it at these certain times of the year. See how that worked.
Yeah.
We're pretty much at his mercy, so
Yeah.
Anything's better than nothing, I would think.
Yep.
You said
So we try it
October.
from April 15th to June 15th. That would basically be the next window, right? I mean, December 15th is
2
pretty
weeks
much
away.
on us. So.
2 weeks. It's 2 weeks of walking.
Well, if we agree to it, it would technically be open.
Yeah, but then you'd have to take the wood off the bridge and then put it back up in 2 weeks' time. Right?
Yeah, I think it's just tape, ribbon or caution tape right now,
Okay.
and cones. I don't think they would put anything more substantial.
Well, then
But
I guess if that's something that could be done, then yeah.
we'll have to during the seasonal closures put something a little more substantial.
Mm.
He said people were going over and under and through the stuff that we did put up.
Okay.
Not many, but there were some.
Do we need to sign anything or vote anything?
I can print new copies, undrafted version of this, and have it available. Actually, it's on there if you want. It's for me to sign, me and him to sign.
Mhm.
If you want to have it that way, and just authorize me to
That's how
sign that.
most
if
of our
that's
leases
agreeable.
work, isn't it? We give you the authority to sign.
Yeah.
On our behalf.
I move that we authorize the town manager to sign the
Amended.
amended lease between Earl Hamilton and the town for the Indian
Creek footbridge.
Creek. Yeah, thank you.
Second, all those in favor?
He has a question.
Sorry.
I have a question. I'm wondering if the blockade on the footbridge could just be on Earl's Wharf side, so that coming from around the mountain road, you could still walk out onto the bridge and look out, at the water.
I don't think that's what he wants.
Yeah.
He doesn't, yeah.
We can obviously ask him, but as,
Well, who owns the footbridge?
oh.
The town probably pays for it, so we probably can put the blockage on that side.
As long as you're
We'd
staying
repair it.
off of
Hmm?
We repair it.
property, I don't see how standing on the bridge would.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. If you're not on his property, then it shouldn't be an issue.
Right, yeah.
It's
I
just a
don't-
beautiful place. I go down there a lot.
Yeah.
It's just like-
I don't think it should be an issue.
Right, if it's not his property, then have at it. I don't think that'll be a problem.
I think we own the town, I believe, owns the bridge part of it. Is that
Right.
But, yeah,
The town installed it.
right?
So I
maybe
mean,
that should be.
By way of the
included in
agreement,
links.
We have the right to support the east end of it, of the existing bridge over the Indian Creek onto the premises. It's at the end of a town road. Whether that property at the end of that town road is the only other matter. But I think the bridge, as far as the bridge goes, we've had to maintain and make improvements to the bridge.
so we could just put the blockade on the
Mhm.
east side of it, I guess, would be.
Do we need to make?
I don't think we need to.
No, because it's already town property.
Does the reduction in use affect the liability insurance premium at all?
Not that I know of.
No, because we're not paying the whole thing anyway. We're just paying a
Yeah.
portion of whatever he said it was, right? We're not paying the whole thing. Like that. Yeah, we're just paying a set fee. We're not actually paying the insurance. We're just paying him a lease fee. But
Yeah.
I guess that could be renegotiated. That since
Another-
it's not 12 months, it's only 6 months. I guess that'll have to be something we talk about
later. But anyway, we've now approved that lease agreement, so.
Okay,
Well,
we'll move on. 10, new business. Seeing none, correct?
I didn't have any.
Okay. Number 11, report of town manager. Everything's great, right?
Everything's fine and dandy.
Yeah. Didn't write one up before taking off for Thanksgiving. I know to start with, I know tomorrow the engineers are coming out. Structural engineers and a couple others from their team are coming out to look at the old fire hall, or not the old fire hall, the public safety building. As part of that work order, we signed trying to figure out how to modify that space to accommodate a longer truck. And to look at the roof, with the potential for putting an apartment or two up there. And they're going to look at the net factory as well while they're here. And I assume check in with some other project where we're at with some other projects. So that's tomorrow. Still have a challenge with the positions. Just today we got one application for one of the positions. So follow up on that. But I don't have anything else that I'm remembering.
Okay. Board of members. Sorry, Ellen.
I'm just wondering what's happening with the net factory.
Currently, it's being used as a swap shop on the first floor.
Yeah, but the engineer's looking at it for safety reasons or?
They're going into the water district building, aren't they?
That as well, yeah. They're just looking at it for the potential of trying to utilize it during the Main Street project for, probably we might need to utilize it.
Like equipment or something like that.
Right. But currently it's the swap shop's operating out of there. And with any luck, when we do the redesign at the transfer station, that should, bids are planning to go, bid package is supposed to go out, advertise for that early winter. With the hope of that being finished before next summer. So with any luck, we can incorporate a space up there for the swap shop again, if that's desired.
Figure out what's happening with that factory building. Have some kind of committee on
That's why we need another committee.
We need another committee. Yep, there we go.
The downtown committee was thinking about the net factory some time ago.
There have been different ideas bandied about. I know that.
Yeah.
There's nothing we've pursued at the moment.
Years down the road would be my best guess before anything happens
Right.
for a more permanent future.
Yep.
It'd be a good place for housing.
It could be, but
Yes.
like I said, this is going to be a very long discussion.
The downtown-
There was a big plan. What was that thing they came out? What was that called? They had a big plan
yeah.
to make a huge building down there for
Right.
housing and all that down there. I mean, if you could get a bunch of funding for it, that'd be something that you could possibly do. But that is
Selectmen
in the
houses.
future.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, number 12, report of members. Anybody?
No, I just think that we should put on our next agenda the ordinances that were just voted down tonight. Or,
Yes.
Make sure that's on the agenda. Because I don't think there's any real opposition to the proposed ordinances. I just think that, we need to make sure that our ducks in a row, that's all.
And if you need a proofreader, I will volunteer my time to proofread.
I don't know how we all missed that.
I don't know how we all missed it either, but
I didn't even look at the first page.
No, you're not supposed to say that.
Well, I thought it was just the boilerplate.
All right, so how about right now, we just, next meeting, December 14th, does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Finest con.
That's 2 weeks from today, correct?
Finest con.
All right. All right, and then we'll have the ordinances on that agenda so we can clear that up and then hopefully maybe even have.
Well,
No, we'll have to set the public hearing at the next meeting so that we can go over the ordinances.
Well, if anyone has any changes, they can bring them up at the next meeting. and
Incorporate
right?
them.
Yeah, and then there'll be a public hearing. If there's any changes in the public hearing, we'll have to schedule another public hearing.
and this will be at 5:30.
In my understanding, the public hearing would only be needed for the aircraft launching and landing ordinance, not the other two.
Okay.
The other two, the issue, if I'm understanding correctly, was just in the wording of the warrant article.
Yes, right.
So
Unless we're proposing substantial changes to.
Well, they
the
were just some
languages.
typos, I think, that we're gonna change.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that's substantial change.
Yeah,
just
that wouldn't be
fixing the
Changing exit to
exist
exist.
and stuff like that isn't a substantial change in my
Okay,
book.
so next meeting, 12/14 at 5:30.
Right.
5:30.
We do 5:30 on the 14th. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I don't mind meeting at 5. but-
I don't mind meeting at 5.
Let's just do 5 then,
You want to do 5?
because I have practice, I'm sure, on that day. So
All right.
yeah, yeah.
Let's do 5.
As long as it doesn't, no one else has a problem with 5 o'clock. I mean, I
Motion to
like 5
adjourn.
o'clock. It's already been dark for
Second.
2 hours by then.
All right, motion to adjourn, seconded, all those in favor? There we go.
At
2:45, and you look outside, well, I guess that's another day.